Hello, hello, and welcome to the Big Hug Cafe Community Catch Up. I'm Rachel Richards, and my daughter Phoebe has just finished her second term at university, and she's home. And everyone in the house we're just relaxed. We're so happy to all be back together again, except my 14-year-old dog Casper, who's gone off his food. He's dragging himself from one room out into the sunshine, lying flopped in the sunshine, and then back in again by my feet. And it's just really sad to watch. And we don't really know what's wrong with him. We'll take him to the vet. He's 14. I mean, we have an expression in English called hangdog, and that's literally what we're dealing with. And it made me think about what I'd like to talk about this week, which is what is our normal? When we notice things about people, what do we see? And then when do we notice it's different? So this ties into the simplest way of showing our teens that we love them. But first, I want to thank Paul M for buying me not one, not two, three coffees to thank me for my explanation on the question about curiosity. This was about a 15-year-old boy who doesn't seem curious. I thought it was a fantastic question, so I'm very grateful for that particular chance to talk about it. I keep all my old big hugs on the Substack, so just click on the link there if you're curious for what we talked about before or you didn't get to hear that. Now, when I coach parenting in London, we always started with the question of how do we show our kids that we love them? Because everything stems from that sense of safety and love, whether it's rules or motivation, everything. And I talked with Gabriel in my latest conversation about how the boundaries she has put in place are also a form of love. So it's not just being kind of warm. It's important to recognize that love is about a number of different things that we put in place. And making them happy isn't the key. It's just one of the things. And I tell my kids often, look, isn't it awful to have a mum who cares enough about you to say no? And honestly, my kids have used me saying no to their advantage on plenty of occasions when they're coming under pressure to go out and do things they don't particularly want to do. And they'll send me a message and say, oh, can I do this? And a little signal to say that I have to say no. And that's what I'll deliver. It's protective. They're grateful. They can come home when they want to. Anyway, I digress. The thing I wanted to talk about this week is what is our norm? And it's what I learnt when we first got Casper. There were lots of things I learned when I first got my dog. But what really struck me was that I would walk through the door and he would lose his mind. He would be so ecstatic. And Crumble's the same. This is my female dog that I got a couple of years later. And when I say ecstatic, they would run up and down the hallway, squealing with delight, rolling over for me to tickle their tummies, and their tails would be helicoptering around at high speed. And it's so joyous that I remember at the time thinking, wow, maybe I shouldn't have had kids. I could have just bypassed the whole thing and got dogs. The truth is, I walk into a room and they're instantly alert. Their eyes follow me. They jump out of their chair or whatever, wherever they are, and they come to see me. Why am I talking about this? Well, it's because when your kids walk into the room, what do they get? What do they experience? And what does everyone in your family experience? So, because what happened with me was I noticed how the dogs were doing this and I thought, God, it feels so nice. Maybe I'll try and do it for my own family. So, no, not in a dog way, in a normal human way. So when people come into the kitchen, I stop what I'm doing and I greet them. I always hug everyone first thing in the morning and my face lights up. And I do this before I say anything. I show genuine joy that they're there, not for any reason, not for something they've done, just that they exist. And I'll put my phone down. And I tell you, the change in our home has been incredible as a result of this. And the reason I'm thinking about this now is partly because of poor old Casper. And, he's showing no joy. So I know he's ill. I know there's something wrong. And something happened this week that made me think about this in terms of the way I relate to my kids. So my daughter came downstairs to get a lift to college. She was a little bit early. And I was just completely distracted. I was trying to finish something. I had a lot going on in my head, a lot of things I was trying to juggle. And I've developed a technique for dealing with this, which I have told my daughter about, and that is writing everything down so it doesn't overwhelm me and it doesn't stay in my head and it's not something I keep juggling. That day, I hadn't done that. Anyway, Emilia started yammering on about, I don't know what it was. It was just something that seemed irrelevant. And it was just her chatting and it just didn't seem consequential. So kind of only half listened to her. And I just carried on doing what I was doing, typing on my computer and thinking about the other things. And eventually when we got in the car, she said to me, "Mummy, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." And she said, "Okay, well, you just kind of seem really distracted." And that's when I realized how effective this mindset has been in the house. And my point is, my kids now expect me to be present. They expect me to notice. And when I'm not, and when I don't, they pick up on that. It really matters. So I said, "You know what? You're right. I'm so sorry. I have just such a lot going on and I'm quite distracted." And she asked me what it was. "What's going on, Mummy? What's happening?" And I started explaining. She said, "Have you written it down?" And it made me laugh because this is the technique I've been telling her about and trying to instill in her because she has a brain that can't manage a lot of things all at once. And we know that writing things down will get it all out. And it works, particularly for that sort of busy brain. So, yeah, I admitted, "You know what, sweetie, I haven't. I didn't do it. Thanks for pointing it out." And then we were just on an even kill and it was great. And I kissed her goodbye and said, "I love you." But afterwards, I thought about it and I was so delighted because not only does my child feel that the normal state at home is to be welcomed and considered important, and when that's not happening and people aren't listening to her, something's a bit off. But also, she explains something I've been teaching to her, and she's now teaching me things back. And that's the point where we realize, wow, it's all beginning to pay off. So, in summary, I guess my point this week is have a think about what's normal in your home. Do you raise your eyes when your kids walk into the room, or are you fixating your attention somewhere else? Are you on your phone? Are you thinking about something? Are you distracted? And how does that feel? How does it feel to you when people pay attention when you're trying to tell them something? And how do you show your kids that they really matter, not because they've done something right or wrong, but because they just simply exist? That's it for this week. Have a think. Let me know what you think. Big hug. Bye.